In this lesson, we will be writing linear equations. This is lesson 2.2.b. We will write linear equations from a graph. We will write them from a table, and we will write them from a set of coordinate points. All three, and we will go over all three examples. So let's look at our first one, how to write a linear equation from a graph. When you've done a graph before, what you've done is you've always looked for the y-intercept right in here. You have then tried to find another point that was in a crosshair. So looks like maybe right here. And then you have calculated the slope. However, if you'll notice, this y-intercept right here is at 2 point something, just shy of 3. We don't know what it is. It's a fraction. It's impossible to tell from the graph without guessing. So we want to be exact. So what we need to do is we need to find 2 points. Well, we found one here when we were just now looking, and that's at 1, 3. So let's write that. And now I need another point, and I can't use my y-intercept. So if I travel down here, it looks like there's a crosshair here, but it's a fraction here and a fraction there. So let's keep going. And when I come to here, this point, it looks like it lines up with the 2 and the -4. That'd be a great point to use. So I'm going to use -4, 2. Now that I have my 2 points, I'm going to use that to write a linear equation in this form up here, y equals mx plus b. That is the slope-intercept form. That's what we've been looking at. So I went ahead and wrote some steps here on the left that you should write down for your notes. And you can keep them with you when you're doing the practices and the test. So step 1 says to find the slope. And here I wrote the slope equation in case you've forgotten. Slope is our m value, and it's the change in y. So y2 minus y1. So that would be our 2 and our 3. We would look at those over our x values. x2 minus x1. So that's the 1 and the -4. It's rise over run, x's, or y's over x's. So step 1, find the slope. Step 2, we are then going to pick one point and plug in to solve for b. So we can pick either -4, 2 or 1, 3. So once we have the slope, this m figured out right here, we will pick either this x and y or this x and y to plug into our equation in order to solve for b. Then our final step is, because we are trying to write a linear equation, we want to go ahead then and rewrite all of our work in the form of y equals mx plus b. So let's start. Let's go ahead and do step 1. So in step 1, it says we need to find the slope. All right, so the slope is our change in y's. We need to go ahead and assign one of these points to be our x1, y1, and the other one to be our x2, y2. So how about if we just assign this one? And it doesn't matter which one that we assign. And this will be our x2, y2. That'll just help keep it straight in our heads. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take 3 minus 2, that's our change in y's, over 1 minus a -4, and solve. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus a -4 is the same as 1 plus 4, because remember we can change this minus to a plus, which means we have to change this minus's sign to a plus as well, and we get 5. Our slope is 5. Or 1/5, sorry, not 5. Our slope is 1/5. Let's move on to step 2 now. So we're halfway there. We found the m, we just need to find the b. Step 2 says pick one point and plug in, and that's how we'll solve for b. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pick this point 1, 3. It just looks a little bit easier. So here's our equation. Y equals mx plus b. Let's plug in our point, and we can plug in the slope since we found it. So in place of y, I will put the 3. And in place of my m, I found m to be 1/5. So I'm going to substitute 1/5 in there. And in place of x, I'm going to go ahead and put 1. And all I have left then is b, one variable I can solve for b. 1/5 times 1 is just 1/5. So I will get 3 equals 1/5 plus b, I need to move 1/5 to the other side. Right now it's a positive 1/5, so I would subtract it. And this is different than if I was multiplying. So now I have to figure out what 3 minus 1/5 is. Okay, the way to do that, and we'll do it over here, is we would take 3 over 1. Anything that doesn't have a number underneath is understood to be over 1. So 3 minus 1/5. Remember, what I need is a common denominator. So I'm going to turn the 1 into a 5 so that it's the same as this one. But I can't just turn it into a 5 without doing the same operation to the numerator. To turn the 1 into a 5, I had to multiply it by a 5. So if I multiply the 1 by a 5, I have to multiply the 3 by a 5 and then get 15. So now what I have is 15 over 5, which if you divide is still 3. 15 minus 1 is 14, and 5 stays the same. Looking back at step 2, then 3 minus 1/5, we know now is 14 over 5. And that is what our b equals. Okay, final step. We have now found b and we have found y. So all I have to do is rewrite that in the form of a linear equation. And I was going to write that over here, so I'll go ahead and leave that there and move on to step 3. Right here. Step 3 then, our final answer is y equals 1/5, that was our slope, x plus 14 over 5. All right, and we'll go ahead and circle this since we know this is the final answer, or square it, I should say. And you can see that 14 divided by 5 goes into 14 about 2 times with a little bit left over. So it's not quite 3, and that's what that y-intercept is. And you can see that would be impossible to figure out by yourself. Now we could do the slope because we could go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we do find that there's a point here. And we could go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's that point there. So we can still count for slope on the graph, but what I want you to do is be able to figure this out algebraically. Let's try another example. All right, so let's locate our 2 points on the graph. And if I look around, so I'm going to start down here. That one may or may not help me, but let's keep going. It looks like we've got something here. And that one is at -3. Nope, we don't, because this isn't 5, so let's erase that one. We'll keep looking. We keep going up, up, up. I think maybe right here might be a good crosshair. And this is at -1 and up 5, so that's perfect. We'll use that one. -1, comma 5. And then let's go and find another one. This one's in a crosshair, but if I go over this way, it's not at an even number, so let's keep going. It looks like maybe right here might be a good point. This is at 3, 6, so I can use that. All right, let's go with our step 1. So step 1 is find the slope, if you remember. So m is equal to the change in y's. So I'm going to do 6 minus 5, those are my y's, over 3 minus a -1. Remember that will turn into plus. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 minus a negative means 3 plus 1, which is 4. My slope is then 4. Step 2, I'm going to pick a point and plug it into my equation along with my slope and solve for b. I'm going to go ahead and pick the 3, 6 just because I don't want a negative. So my y is 6. Y equals m, which is 1/4. X is 3. Y equals mx plus b is what we're trying to find. We'll simplify. 3 times 1/4 is 3/4 plus b. Okay, now the dreaded fraction. Okay, but as you work through these, you'll get better and better. Okay, so what we need to do is figure out what 6 minus 3/4 is. We know it's going to be 5 1/4 most likely, but if we want to do it with fractions, let's try that. So we have 6 over 1 minus 3 over 4. We need a common denominator. Let's go ahead and make our denominator be 4. We had to multiply 1 by 4 to get there, so we have to multiply 6 by 4. So we would get 24. And double check your work. 24 divided by 4 is 6, so that works out great. 24 minus 3 then is 21. And we keep the denominator the same when we're subtracting. So over here, 6 minus 3/4 gives us 21/4, and that is what our b equals. And for our final step, we just need to rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. And we would have y equals our slope we found up here to be 1/4 x plus 21/4. Now let's just always double check to make sure we're close. 4 goes into 21 5 times with a little bit left over, and if we look at this y-intercept, 5 is right here, so a little bit left over would be there. It looks pretty good. We can even double check our slope. It says up 1 over 4, so if I started across here and I go up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, I do end it across here right here. Perfect. Up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, and I end up there. So the equation looks good. Let's move on then, and let's find the equation of a line from 2 points on a table. This is really the same as what we've just been doing. You just now are given a selection of points, so in a way it's a little bit easier. You can choose whatever you want. So what I'll do is I'll probably just select these two here, 1 and 8, and I'll select the ones right next to it, 2 and 3. Okay, those are low numbers, there's no negatives, might be kind of easy. And I just need to make sure that I am subtracting my y's in the same order as I subtract my x's. So let's go with step 1. We would follow the same steps. We've got our 2 points. So we need to do y2 minus y1, and I'm going to call 8 my y2, so I'm going to put that first. So 8 minus 3, keep the same order of your x's, 1 minus 2. So I get a slope of 5 over negative 1, which really is just negative 5. Step 2, let's pick a point and plug it into the equation. We need to pick one of the points we chose. So I am actually going to pick the 2 and the 3. Actually, no, I'll go ahead and pick the 1 and the 8. It's a little bit smaller. So for y, I would plug in my 8. Y equals m, which we got to be negative 5. The x is 1 plus b. And you are so lucky because there's no fractions in this one. So negative 5 times 1 is still negative 5. And in order to solve this now, I just need to add 5 to both sides. And 8 plus 5 gives us 13. This goes away, and all I have left then is b. So b is 13. Writing my final step, step 3, write it down here. Step 3 at the very end, we can rewrite our final equation as y equals negative 5 was our slope, x plus 13. Okay? Great. Let's move on to the next one. Let's go ahead with our step 1 and let's find our slope. So m is equal to, and I need to choose some points. Hey, I'm going to choose this 0, 7, because as you will see, that would actually decrease the amount of calculations I have to do when x is 0, and I will show you that when we're done, and some of you may already know and predict what this point is. So step 1, m, I'm going to do 10 minus 7, so I'm changing my y's over change of my x's, 1 minus 0. So my slope ends up being 3 over 1, which is just 3. Step 2, plug this into the equation along with one of our points. So I'm going to choose my first point here, 0, 7. So y is 7 equals my slope times x, which we chose to be 0, plus b. Well, 3 times 0 is just 0. So notice that our y-intercept is just 7. And if you remember on the y-axis, x is always 0 there. So anytime you see 0, that indicates that the y value is our y-intercept. That is our starting point. So it makes it really easy. I didn't even need to do step 2. I could just look at the table and I would know that's my y-intercept. So for step 3, let's rewrite this in its final form. The equation is y equals 3x plus 7. And that's how you write a linear equation from a graph. Or not from a graph, we're from a table right now. So let's change this real quick, just so we don't get confused. And there, switched it to table. So write a linear equation from a table. All right, final example, let's learn how to write a linear equation from points, a set of coordinate points. Well, by now, you probably are saying, I already know how to do this because I did it on a graph and I did it with tables. But I just wanted you to see it because sometimes you get it in this format. So let's start with the first one. So remember your step 1, and the steps are the same for all of these. So step 1 is to find our slope. So I need to pick a y value that I want to write first. I'm going to pick 13 minus a negative 2 over negative 3 minus 2. 13 minus a minus, I can change that to a plus, which means I have to change that to a plus. So that actually gives us 15. Negative 3 minus 2, I can change that to a plus and that to a negative. Negative 3 plus a negative 2 is negative 5. 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. Great, now I can move on to step 2. Now that I have my slope, I can plug that in along with a set of coordinate points. So I'm going to plug in the 2, negative 2. So be really careful that you know which one is which. Remember, this is x, negative 2 is y. So negative 2 is equal to my slope. So y equals m, that's negative 3. X is 2, from right here, plus b. And I just need to simplify and solve for b. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then I would just add 6 to both sides. Okay, and see what I have. Negative 2 plus 6, that means subtraction because I have the negative in there. So that gives us 4. This is now gone, and b is 4. All right, we're down to our final step, step 3, and that's just to rewrite in the slope-intercept form. So y equals, got to put our slope in there, negative 3, x, and then we have to put our b value, and our b value is 4. Great. Let's go to the last one then. In our last example, we have our 2 points. So again, let's start with our step 1. Find our slope. Slope is going to be change of y, 12 minus a negative 4, over change of x. So 5 minus 1, and again I'm picking these 2 points to be my x2, y2, and these over here to be my x1, y1. But you can choose however you like. So 12 minus a minus, I can change that to plus and that to plus, and I get 16. 5 minus 1 is 4, 16 divided by 4 is 4, there's my slope. Step 2, I'm going to plug in everything I have now, including one of these points. And maybe I'll go ahead and choose the 5 and the 12 just to avoid the negative. Okay, so y is 12. Y equals m, which is 4. Found that here. X is up from here, I'm plugging that in, plus b. And I get 12 equals 20 plus b. Now I just need to subtract 20. And see what I'm left with. 12 minus 20 is going to give me a negative 8. These are gone, and b is equal to negative 8. All right, now I know my slope, and I know my y-intercepts, I can do step 3. I can rewrite this in slope-intercept form. So my final equation is going to be y equals, and our m is 4x, plus -8. Okay, so what you should learn from this is that we are using the equation to help us find b. We are also using the points that we are given to help us find the slope. So the final answer really is in step 3. Make sure in all cases that you rewrite your equation in the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where you fill in the slope and you fill in the y-intercept. And that concludes our lesson.